Okay, so I'm located still in script.js, which is located in lecture 45 folder. And in part 1 of this lecture, we spoke about how to create a simple object and how to set properties on it, and we even talked about how to set an object within an object, and so on. Now in part 2, we'd like to take a look at a syntax that simplifies all this object creation. What we'll do for now is we'll go ahead and comment all of this out, and we'll create a new one. And we'll create the object in a bit of a better way, or at least simpler way. So let's go ahead and make a comment here, better way, object literal. And what we're going to do now is called object literal notation. Let's go ahead and set our object to a little bit of a more interesting name. Let's call it Facebook. And we'll give it an object literal. An object literal is just curly braces. And we could put a semicolon at the end because it's a statement, or actually it's an expression that's going to have its value sitting inside the Facebook variable. And since JavaScript is very liberal with spaces, we can actually make it much more readable by putting space right here and starting to type properties just like this. Name Facebook, name of the company is Facebook, and we're separating our name value pairs. The name value pair itself is separated with a colon, and the actual name value pair is separated with a comma. So we put a comma in, and we'll put CEO. That's what we wanted to have as a sub-object within this object. And since it's a sub-object, we again put curly braces, and we open it up this way. Let's erase that extra line. Okay, so first name was Mark, and we separate this with a comma. Fave color was blue. Notice the last name value pair inside the object curly braces does not get a comma at the end. That's very important. Now this right here, from this curly brace to this curly brace, is an object literal by itself. And this CEO together with curly brace object is a name value pair. So since we want yet another name value pair to appear afterwards, we want to put a comma after here and then say something like stock, and the stock is going to be equal to 110. So if we save that, this is going to get cleared, and we're going to do console. Let's actually make some room here. Do console.log and output Facebook. So let's see what it comes out to be. And it looks exactly like the object we created before. And we have the CEO sub-object sitting here with a favorite color, Mark. And don't worry about this proto property for now, but CEO is an object, has a favorite color, first name, and we still have the name of the outer object be Facebook, and the stock price is 110. We can also repeat this the same thing as we did before here, where we wanted the stock name to be a little bit of more of an elaborate type of name. So we want it to be stock of company, right? So let's go ahead and copy that name. And we could do the same thing here by specifying the property name to be a string. So we could just say quotes, don't forget the colon, and paste the name of the property right here. So when we save and it refreshes, now we have the value or the name of the property be stock of company with the spaces, which is something you wouldn't be able to set using the dot notation, but you're able to set using the object literal notation, and certainly are able to set using the bracket notation. And we could access the properties of this object exactly in the same way as we accessed it before. So there's really no difference between the way to create the object this way and the way we created it with a new object. So we could still say Facebook.ceo.name, and when we save that, we'll see that I messed up something here, right, because we had not dot name but that first name. Let's go ahead and do that and save that, and you can see it still outputs Mark. So everything works, and this is exactly again the same way to create the object, and this is a much better way because it's much more readable and much faster to type. I'll add two more words about how to type up these objects. Now, a lot of people make a mistake is when they say var, let's say company, and they say equal, and they do this, and they start expanding this thing before, let's say CEO, and again like this. It's much easier to first put all the ending things on the line. So for example, the way I type things is when I say a company and it's equals to curly braces, and I know that it's going to be an object, and I know that this is an expression, and I want to put a semicolon at the end, I put a semicolon at the end right away. So that way, when I put my cursor in between the curly braces and just put a space, now the syntax doesn't look as bad because it's much easier for me to type. So when I say CEO again, and I put two curly braces right here, and I know there's going to be a second property after this, I will put a comma right here and then say stock of company, something like this, and say 110. So that way, when I get to here and I put a new line here, I'm not really worried anymore to try to remember what is this curly brace closing. Do I need a comma here? Maybe there's another sub-object in here. So it's much easier to put all the ending characters to your programming line up front instead of wait till the end and try to match them up later. So that's just a little quick tip for you to know going forward. Okay, so we have our two ways of create the objects. One way is using the new object syntax, and the other one is what's called object literal.